What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the warm up. I'm your host, John. Joining us today is Ben. Ben, how you doing?
Doing good. Excited to be back. It's been too long.
Welcome back, man. Happy you're here. Before we get into it, please subscribe to the warm up and turn on that notification bell so you never miss an episode of the warm up. All right, Ben. Yesterday was game 82. It was a crazy  2025-2026 season, to say the less. And we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to dissect the play-in, the playoff matchups that we know already. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. Just some kind of like season in review headlines that kind of make sense to talk about. I mean, looking at the top of both conferences, obviously, OKC is once again sitting at the top. That was an expectation that kind of everybody had going into the season, and they lived up to it. And then I think the biggest surprise of the season when we look back was obviously the Detroit Pistons ending up at number one. I think I remember, we were talking about like, hey, there's going to be like a lack of shooting there or a lack of playmaking, but they looked absolutely stellar this season. Yeah. So that's a great storyline. Charlotte getting into the play-in after that brutal start, putting together what looks like could be a really good future there. I'm very excited about that. Then obviously out west, you've got, a log jam there from like 3 to 6 of teams that are very competitive. And then San Antonio sitting at the top. San Antonio is a team that I expect to be very competitive in the playoffs. And I fully expect that they'll be seeing OKC at some point. But looking back, I mean, there was craziness in the standings. The play-in looks very interesting this year. Obviously, there was all the tanking, and then you have the news of like expansion teams coming. So it's a very like fun season for the NBA. And I think this was obviously ratings were way up this year, which is really good. It was a great season all around.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me to just add on to what you said, when we look back at the season, 5-10 years from now, if Victor Wembanyama does what we think he's going to do, eventually win a championship, not create a dynasty, but be one of those impact players all time. We'll look at his third season in the NBA where it's like, oh, this was his coming out party. From day one in that Dallas matchup where he just had that 40-point game, was blocking everything, going against 80 and Gafford and them, just totally lit them up. And then he continued that momentum throughout the rest of the season. Like, that was very impressive to watch. Giannis, the whole Giannis saga has been such a nightmare to cover, to follow. It's Giannis versus Shams versus the Bucks organization at this point. That story's not over with. That'll continue into the summer. And then just a little other things like Celtics. We thought the Celtics were going to be a bottom 5 team in the East, or at least maybe a play-in-ish team. And Joe Mazzulla doesn't know how to tank, and nor he should, because they blew my expectations out the water. Jaylen Brown has taken a step up with his playmaking, his leadership. He's been super impressive to me. And then I think for me, the last like crazy thing was like the aging superstars that we've all grown to love, grew up with. They're kind of on the way out. The Steph Currys, the LeBrons. The next step is here. The Victor Wembanyama's, the Shays, Anthony Edwards, and even more. The Cooper Flags, the Duncan Nichols. Like, the NBA is in such a great place right now. It was a hell of a season to watch.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there's 2 more things out east I want to cover as well.
Yeah.
2 teams that really surprised me sitting at 5 and 6, Toronto and Atlanta. Those were 2 teams you just don't expect those to be top 6 teams. Atlanta's a play-in team. Toronto's in rebuild, and they're way ahead of schedule. So I'm interested to see if either of those teams can win a playoff series. I think that Hawks-Knicks series is going to go a smooth 7 games. I think that's going to be a dogfight. Okay. So I'm excited to see what those 2 teams do, especially Toronto, because like going into the season, we're just thinking like long term with this situation. Like, Toronto's not where they need to be. They've got BI, but it's like they don't really have the core that they're looking for. But they have just put on a show out there. So I'm very excited to see what they do in the playoffs. So hats off to them for making it in. And then Atlanta, obviously, bad start to the season. But once they traded Trae Young, they took off. And I think that's one of the things we talked about when the trade went down was like, these are pieces you can plug and play into the system. And it allowed for other guys to step in and be better. Let's Those are two storylines.
What's so interesting too about the Hawks thing is when before the season, I think we had the Hawks as a top 6 team, but we thought Trae Young would be here. It's so funny to see that injury Trae Young had at the beginning of the season. He was out like 6 to 7, 8 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
Jalen Johnson took that step, and it was like I feel like we all knew Jalen Johnson had it in him. I didn't think he had it in this quick. And then they trade Trae Young, and they kind of struggled for a couple of weeks. And then this last month and a half, they've just been one of the hottest teams in the league post All-Star break. So yeah, it's been awesome to watch for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I guess one more question I have for you is if you look at and I know this is a touchy subject for everybody. Obviously, you look at the tanking situation in the NBA right now, and this was one of the worst years. I think a record number of teams dropped 50 games at least. So what are your basic baseline thoughts on hey, what does the NBA need to do to either correct this or how can we move forward here?
So I'll start with the correcting it. I don't really have a solution. And I think either way, teams will find a way to be bad because the only way to have talent and success is through the draft. One thing I will say, yes, tanking was really bad this year, probably at all-time high, but tanking's always been here. Tanking's been here for the last 40 years. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's really going to go away. They try to flatten the odds and it's only gotten worse, right? So regardless, teams will figure out ways to. I mean, look at the Mavericks, for example. They traded their generational player in Luka Doncic, and then you get Cooper Flag. They're not set, but you need those guys to be successful in the league. So when we look at this year's draft, they think Darren Peterson, AJ Devonta, Cameron Boozer, these are those generational. Well, maybe not generational, but those are those franchise players. So you need them. Period. So yeah. In a nutshell, I think tanking was bad, but I didn't mind. I thought some of the stuff was crazy, but I wasn't surprised because you got to do what you got to do. It's better to be, tanking than middle of the pack, hence Chicago each year, right? And they finally picked the direction, and I think the fans were happy because of it. What about you? What do you think?
I have a lot of thoughts on it. Earlier this year, I think it was after the trade deadline, I started thinking of what are some ways that you could, I guess, spice it up. And I always said hey, you could always move the draft lottery to All-Star weekend. And, you could do it live during All-Star weekend and freeze the odds, going into the All-Star weekend just to kind of save that last couple months of the season to just
I like that.
You know what I'm saying? So that's an idea I had originally, but it's just, there's a lot of moving parts with it. But as far as what I think of it, do I think that, we should be intentionally losing games? No. But at the end of the day, your reward for losing games is not as great as you initially think, right? Because, you look at a team like the Utah Jazz, right? The Utah Jazz were probably the worst tanking team this year as far as, and also the Memphis Grizzlies too. They tanked a lot at the end of the season. So if you look at those two teams, you lose all those games, but you're still sitting at 4 in the 4, 5, 6 range, which is just not a guarantee. You could easily drop 2 spots. You could move up into the top 4 or get 1, but it's you're literally putting the fate of your franchise on ping pong balls. So it's it would make a lot more sense if it was how the NFL did it, and it's just 1 through 32 you draft. Right. But in the NBA, you simply can't do that. Yeah. It just doesn't work. So ultimately, I think it's going to get resolved. I just hope we don't overcomplicate it because I was reading those proposals that Silver sent out, and it just they're just complicated to me. I feel like it's going to really kind of just jamble things. It's I feel like the current system in the NBA right now is already kind of getting, complicated enough, and we're about to add 2 more teams in a couple of years too. So it's we got to just pump the brakes on these proposals a little bit.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The thing is too, what they did with the play-in, or not the play-in, the All-Star weekend, where they kept changing it each year. I don't want the draft lottery and them addressing tanking to be like that. Where we tried this one year and then we scrap and try something different. I don't like that at all. But to your point, for one of your solutions with you freeze the lottery odds, so everything past let's say the last month kind of count or doesn't count. That's kind of interesting because I feel after the football season and the Super Bowl's over, that's when the majority of the fans start watching the NBA anyway. So I think tanking was so loud because your best product is after football, and then our product
Yeah.
is a bunch of tanking teams, and you got a bunch of people trying to win and jockey playoff position. So yeah, that's
Yeah. I think another thing to note is like we can use the Pelicans for example, right? They don't own a first round pick next year, so they just play basketball, right? And
yeah,
down the stretch, like I'm watching the standings, and the one thing I'm noticing is like, hey, the Pelicans are like going in and winning basketball games,
yeah,
not because they don't want to or anything, because like they're just playing basketball and their guys are healthy.
yeah,
And so that's a prime example of like, hey, that could work. Because let's say you're a Utah Jazz team that's trying to tank, right? If you want to tank before the new year, if you want to tank in the winter, go right ahead. I mean, like
right,
at that point, that's just losing mentality.
right,
So if you want to tank going into winter, you can. So let's say you have the draft during all. The only reason I say All Star Weekend is for ratings alone. It just helps. It just helps All Star Weekend because people are going to watch the lottery. But when you look at it from that perspective, if you have the lottery then and the Utah Jazz get the 6th pick in the draft and they drop 2 spots from 4 to 6, what are they going to do for the rest of the season? They're just going to play basketball. I mean, there's no need to like intentionally rest guys over and over and over because you want to try to lose games. It's also good for your young players' development, I think, and like it also getting your core together because you're not trying to intentionally just sit these guys out for a losing matter. But that's kind of my 2 cents on it with the tanking.
yeah. And then one thing too, like with tanking, like the Washington Wizards have technically the best odds to get the number 1 overall pick. But when's the last time the worst team has gotten the number 1 overall pick?
They're not going to get it.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, yes, tanking is bad, but it still doesn't even guarantee you to even a top 4 pick. I think Washington and the Jazz had the worst record last year, and they ended up falling to like 5 and 6 in the draft. You know what I mean? Because two or three teams jumped them. So
I mean, shoot, like there are teams that are about to go play in the play-in in a couple days that could get the number 1 pick. Dallas was the prime example last year. Yep. Like, you easily a 1.8% chance, like it could happen. It could be any of those teams. Like it could be a team in the middle of the pack. It could be the Washington Wizards. It probably won't be. Like it could be the Pacers. We have the Kings. We have no clue. So it's like, that's why I say it's like, why are we tanking when it's so uncertain? In the NFL, I get it. If you got a chance to go get the number 1 pick in like week 17, lose the game. I get it. But like you're basing it on ping pong balls. So yeah, I don't know. But I think
God the NBA's draft order isn't like that. Could you imagine how bad tanking would be then?
I mean, the whole league would tank.
It'd be awful. So I do think they gotta be careful too, because there's gonna be some consequences that are unintended. You know what I mean? So or unintended consequences. So it's like they got to be careful, like what they do and how they change the things. Because if you start like a team like Indiana, like who didn't have Halliburton all year, like they weren't supposed to be here, but they did it because it incentivized them, right? So it's like it's not technically their fault. But then you have teams like Utah, you have teams like Washington that are doing everything in their power to just tank their ass off. So, it's hard.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was a crazy season. I'm happy. It's playoff time. It's the best time of the year. March Madness wrapped up about a week and a half ago. And yeah, let's get into tomorrow's games, or this week's games with the play-in. So I think tomorrow they got in the play-in, who they got? Hornet. Is it 7-8 first or is it 9-10 first?
I believe it's 9-10. I need to go check the schedule again, but we can go ahead and break these down.
You want to start west or east?
We start west.
West?
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with the 7-8 matchup in the West. So let's go Suns Portland. I think Portland has been one of my favorite teams to watch of late. They've been my favorite league pass team over the past month. I love them. I like their defensive identity, their size, their shot making. If Shaedon Sharpe was playing, I would like their chances, but I think Phoenix has just been so much better, better than them this entire year. And I think them being home, them having a bit more experience on those ends of things, I think they'll handle business for sure. Because they don't want to play OKC round 1. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely not. No. I'm with you. I'm going Phoenix in this one. I think they could give San Antonio, like, I'll call it issues. I'm not going to say trouble. I think they give issues and steal a game or two because you got Phoenix just has a really good young roster who I didn't believe in at first. So
Yeah.
I'm actually very pleased with their development.
No one did.
Yeah, I feel Portland's kind of in a rough spot because it's like, no matter what happens here, you're out in the first round. In my personal opinion, you're not beating San Antonio, and you're certainly not beating OKC. So it's kind of a tough spot. But I'm going to take Phoenix in that one.
Yeah. And, well, I will say, like, for Portland too, like, even if, let's say if they do get in and they have to play OKC, I think just that experience and that playoff atmosphere, just getting, Scoot, Klingon, Tamani Kumara, like, just them smelling what playoff basketball is like, I think could benefit them in the long run. But you're right, like, they're dead weight against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Now, it would be interesting if Portland upsetted Phoenix tomorrow, and then now it's Portland, San Antonio, which I think the Spurs would just.
Yeah, I think they'd break out the brooms on Portland, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, so now we got the 9-10 game, Clippers and Warriors. What's your thoughts on this? I'll let you go first.
I think the Warriors are getting slammed by 30, bro. Like they're not winning, bro. I'm sorry. Steph just came back. You're on the road. I think the Clippers have proven themselves. Now, let me speak on the Clippers for a minute. This is a team that if they can get out of the play-in, I do think they can give some trouble to OKC. I think out of all the four teams here in the play-in, the Clippers can do the most damage. Do I know what the most damage looks like? I don't, honestly. I mean, it could be one game, it could be two, but when you've got Darius Garland, Kawhi Leonard, then you brought in Mathurin, they have a good solid core, and they've really had a great second half of the season after that brutal 6-21 start. So they are the team out of the four that I really like to make some noise. Now, I'll say this too. I don't want to discount Steph Curry. Steph Curry is, one of the greatest players of our generation, one of the greatest players of all time. He could easily go in here and have one of those nuclear games and get him through. I just simply don't think it's going to happen with where he's at and where the team is at right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. Steve Kerr coming out today and saying that nobody will play over 30 minutes and everyone's Curry's on a minutes restriction. And I think the writing's been on the wall too for the last month and a half. Like, they are jockeying for a potential big lottery pick, and I just think them winning doesn't change anything because I don't think whoever wins this game, or if the Warriors were to win, I don't think they beat Portland anyways. But I'm not going to count Steph Curry out, but I just think
for sure.
the level and intention the Clippers have been playing, like, I think they'll win pretty handily.
Yeah. We can go ahead and move to the East now. We'll go ahead and start with the 9-10. We'll go across Hornets Heat. What are your thoughts on that one?
So my gut tells me the Heat are going to win that, but my heart really wants Charlotte to, because I really want Charlotte in the first round against Detroit.
No, absolutely.
Just to rehash that whole brawl that we had earlier.
Oh, shoot. Oh, you know
yeah. I mean? Like,
oh, my gosh.
I just now realized that. Not that they would give the Pistons any problems, but I think it would just be great cinema. But hey, if Charlotte gets hot, honestly, you know what I mean? If Charlotte gets hot, they the Buzz City Killers for a reason. So, what's your thoughts on that?
I like Charlotte. I just don't think I think the biggest thing here is it's at Charlotte, and those fans are going to have something to cheer for the first time in years. And so I think they're going to pack out the Spectrum Center and get it rolling. I think they'll win this one. I think their second round matchup against the 7 or 8 will be the writing on the wall, but I'll take Charlotte in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think Spo and them, if they do end up losing this game, that organization needs to look at themselves in the mirror. We are the Miami Heat. Why are we constantly playing? Why there needs to be some structural change that, not saying fire Spo or anything, but they need to bring an influx of talent that works. Some that Heat culture, something that works for them. There's just no way you have Bam Adebayo, who scored 83 points earlier this year. You have Norman Powell, Tyler Hero, all on contract negotiations this summer. They got to make something shake. I don't know if the star becomes available, but every star that's become available, they said they want to go to Miami. They don't go to Miami. You know what I mean? So it's they got to look at themselves in the mirror.
Yeah. I fully agree. I think with Miami, like you're Miami, you should be able to acquire talent based on literally your geographic location. So,
Yeah.
And plus you got Bam Adebayo, build around him. You know, it's not too late. So I think there's definitely something to be said for that. So yeah, I fully agree with you. This is an interesting one. Philadelphia and Orlando. Where are you going in this one?
So I don't know if you guys watched that Orlando game versus the Celtics yesterday, but the Celtics had their top 9 players out, and the Magic still lost. It was absolutely one of the most mind-boggling things I've ever watched. Baylor Shireman, Ron Harper Jr. just went off. It was crazy. Desmond Bain wasn't supposed to play, and because he wanted the 82 game rule, and then he just checks back in with like in the fourth quarter, like without playing the entire first 3 quarters. Like that was insane. That was just
Yeah.
um. Let's see if it Embiid's out for sure with that appendicitis. I'm leaning Philly only because there's not one thing Orlando's done this season where I'm like, yeah, like I just can't pick with Orlando right now. Like they're just
Yeah.
not fun. Like I don't think they like each other. They kind of seem one of those teams where like they can't wait to just be done with the season. And if your head's already looking out, like I would like that's a team where it's like we're paying our starting 5 like 90% of our cap sheet. Oh, Paulo might be on the move. Franz might be on the move. Jamal Mosley might be gone. Like I think that's an organization that don't be surprised if they even if they do make the playoffs shortly after, there'll be a lot of change and a lot of
Yeah,
positive.
definitely. We had Orlando pretty high this year too, so this is
We had
kind of
them
a
top
shocking.
4.
We did, yeah. So for Philly, I mean, I'll take them in this game. I don't think Embiid won't be back by the first round, right? No, no shot, right?
Well, because the first round, you know how they space out each game like so
Yeah,
long. They say he might be like a game 3 or 4, but I mean, like he got cut open too. Like this is
yeah.
not like a sprained
Um,
ankle type.
my confidence in Philly making noise versus Boston is solely based off whether Embiid's on the floor. Because when they're complete with Embiid, Edgecombe, Paul George, and the crew, like and Maxi, like when they're complete, they can compete.
Mhm.
So I think it's really going to depend on that. But I'll go ahead and take them in this game. I think Maxi and Edgecombe, that backcourt will be enough to get them past Orlando. And obviously, you've got backup big men that you can utilize and make it work. Because Orlando is a much smaller team than that meets the eye. So I'll take
Yeah,
Philly in that one.
I'll definitely try. I think also too like if Philly does get into the actual playoffs, I just trust Maxi to win you a game. So like
Absolutely.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
I'm betting on Maxi to win a game for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some of the matchups we do already know. You want to start the West of the?
Let's go. Let's start East. Let's do
Let's
East
start
first
East.
because I mean the West we could make a movie on. So
Right.
yeah, let's do Cavs Raptors.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an interesting one, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
My gut says Cleveland, obviously, but they've kind of just been
Mm-hmm.
playing around a little bit. Toronto's young and hungry. I think Toronto's going to win their home games, especially because those fans have waited a while to get into the postseason and make
Yeah.
some noise. Cleveland's got to capitalize and win those home games. It's actually like when you look at it, it's a good path for Cleveland to make some noise because you're playing an
Right.
inexperienced Toronto team and you're most likely going to play an inexperienced Detroit team. So you're avoiding a Knicks, you're avoiding a Celtics until the Eastern Conference Finals. So if there
Mhm.
was a year for Cleveland to make noise, it would be this year, but I just don't know. They like Donovan Mitchell with this Cavs team in the playoffs has never clicked. So we'll have to
Mhm.
just wait and see what happens.
I think for me, I'm gonna take Cleveland for sure. I think there's so many like hidden gems throughout this series though, like Scotty Barnes, and Evan Mobley that beat from Rookie of the Year season. Jared Allen, how he plays in physicality, like we've seen when he goes up against Miles Turner or the Knicks in the past, like he kind of shies away, and he has that famous quote, "The lights were too bright." Like, this is a huge playoff year for the Cavs. Like they're at a crossroads where like I get Donovan Mitchell signed that extension, he's happy, but he's just one of those players. Like how many times as an organization, like you're just gonna keep watching the same thing. And maybe it'll be the inverse of last year where like they had this magnificent um, regular season they stuck in the playoff. Where this year they weren't as good in the regular season, and something clicks come playoff time.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I think for me, their defense is just falling off a cliff, which is concerning. Well, not really because they acquired James Harden. If you get James Harden, your defense will be worse. But they got rid of Garland, and Harden's a better defender than Garland. So I think it'll be interesting to see that dynamic work. I'm just waiting on Evan Mobley to break out, man. Like you
Yeah,
got
definitely.
defensive player of the year last year because Wemby was out, but listen, you need to take an offensive jump. Like this 1 to 2 threes a game. Like go be big. Like go dunk on somebody. Like maybe it's the spacing with Allen that doesn't work. I will say how Toronto plays, they run a lot of CMB at center. I think there's a chance that Mobley plays a lot of center in this series
Hmm.
because they'll be a lot quicker and you'll see more like Sam Merrill, Dean Wade, Jalen Tyson lineups with the other guards. And the Cavs, they got Keon Ellis, Dennis Schroeder, I think match up really well against Toronto's guard. So yeah, it's gonna be a good
Yeah,
series for sure.
definitely. I couldn't agree more. And then I think this will be the sleeper matchup of the first round. Knicks Hawks. What are your thoughts there?
So off first glance, I was like, oh, I think this series has a chance to be like super, like closer than a lot of people think, like where it's
Yeah.
Knicks 6 or 7. But I keep coming back to where like the Knicks are just such a playoff team to me. Where like I wouldn't be surprised if they won, um, if they won in like 5 or 6 games, like pretty not easily, but a lot easier than people would think. Just because they're one of those teams that they've been here before. This is their second or third year all together. I like OG on Jalen Johnson a lot, but go back to the regular season matchups. The Hawks have been a problem for them. They hunt Cat, they hunt Jalen Brunson on the other end, and I think it's gonna be a hell of a series. I'm not gonna lie. I'm excited to see what Nikhil Alexander Walker does, Kaminga does. Um, yeah. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think this is a series that could go 6 or 7. I think the Knicks will ultimately win it, but Atlanta's going to give them a lot of crap. So I think that's really the only prediction I have there. This is a really big playoff season for New York because 2 years ago you lose in the semis. Last year you lose in the conference finals. If this is a championship team, you got to go all the way here. And if you look at your path, you're going to have to play Atlanta, and then you're probably going to have to rematch against Boston, and
Mhm.
then you're going to have somebody else after that. So, like, Knicks Boston in the second round would just be just perfect.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that happen. But yeah, I do think Atlanta does have a chance to take this from them if they do it right.
Cool. Yeah. Do you think that the Knicks have like a like a cloud of judgment? Like they feel a lot of pressure going into this series because I feel like if they don't do
Yeah.
it this year, I feel like they all of a sudden become like the number one Giannis team again. Oh, Mikal Bridges was traded for all these picks. Like this was the dumbest
Yeah.
move in history. You know what I mean? I feel
No,
like
I
they're
think,
one of those teams that
yeah.
have like the most to lose. You know what I mean?
They're a team that if you don't make a deep playoff run or get to the NBA Finals this year, they're going to start making panic moves that are going to only hurt them. I just see that happening. Like let's say they lose in the first round, right? You're right. Giannis destination number one. This star
Mhm.
player destination number one. They're going to go star hunting, trade picks, trade players, and it's just going to be like. So it's like I don't really
Yeah.
know what's going to happen there. So we'll have to just wait and see.
All right. So let's take it out west where we have let's start with Wolves and Nuggets. Let's say Lakers and Nuggets. Wolves Nuggets, they're playing again. What's your thoughts on that?
I also think 7 on this one.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a good series. I really do. It just feels very similar to last time. That the rosters are fairly similar. The star players are still there.
Hmm.
Denver's had their weak moments this season, but so has Minnesota. I just think it's going to be a dogfight. If I had to pick, honestly, like this might sound crazy. I think Minnesota's going to win this one.
Well, it's so funny. You're like the first person I've seen say that because I feel like a lot of people when they think of Denver, they think of only Jokic. And Jokic has been absolutely unbelievable this year. Like, don't get me wrong, but like as a team, they've had their highs and lows for sure. And it's like Jokic is gonna get his. I'm not worried about Jokic in the playoffs.
No, yeah.
Last time we saw Jamal Murray against these guys, he was absolutely shook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were up
Mhm.
3-0 in the series. And I mean, if you look at Minnesota, like, yeah, McDaniels has been hurt and has been, sick and hurt at the same time. But they don't have Cat when they beat when they beat them last time. But I think they have a little bit more experience. They have a little bit more something else, like where it's like, oh, I don't think it's like a cakewalk this time. For sure.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be a really interesting series for sure. But I like your thoughts.
But I would definitely say I would probably lean Wolves or not Wolves, Nuggets in about 6 because that is my championship favorite. I picked them at the beginning of the season. I'm not gonna back out now, but it's not looking good. But I will say the San Antonio might regret not winning that game yesterday. And because if they didn't have to see OKC or Denver to the conference finals, I really like their chances going all the way.
It's gonna be that'll be rough if they have to play Denver second round. Jokic versus Wemby would be unbelievable.
That game a couple of sides.
Yeah. All right. The last one, Ja.
Oh God.
You know what? Like, I'll give you some early thoughts. You couldn't have matched up with a better playoff team here in your current position.
Right.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like, you look at Houston. Like, no offense to my Rockets fans out there, but like Houston has been up and down all season long. So, could I definitely see LeBron James get them out of this series alive? I do think there's a chance. You could potentially get Luka back. Maybe. I don't know. You could get one. I don't think so. I don't know. LeBron James is going to have to turn it up, honestly. I just think he's going to have to get 30 a night for them to have a chance. The role players are going to have to play well. But again, you could not have asked for a better team to match up against, because if you look at the 1 through 8, I mean, like, this is your best matchup. So, like, because if it was Denver or Minnesota, it would be done in 4 or 5. So I do think there's a sliver of hope. But again, based off the injuries, I've got to go with Houston. Now, if Luka does somehow get back in time to save them, I'd give the Lakers more of a chance. But I'm going Houston right now.
I think it's like Houston and like 4, honestly. Even like I think LeBron.
You think it's swept?
Yeah, I think LeBron can average 30, and they could still like. We just don't have a lot of shot creators. Like besides LeBron, Marcus Smart, like Luke Kennard and Bronny James are third and fourth best ball handlers. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just so depressing because like all year it was like everybody, including myself, was so pessimistic on the Lakers, and it seemed like something finally had clicked. And then like Luke and Austin were they were in a rhythm, and then to have this happen, like, because if Luke and Austin were healthy, I think the Lakers had a chance to definitely go to the second round. I think they would would have beat the Rockets, and it would have been a lot better season. But they've built a lot of good habits going in the next season. But I just don't think like I get the Rockets have been struggling and all that. You're asking like Luke Kennard's gonna get guarded by Amen Thompson. Ayton, he's not dominating. Like I think Şengün's gonna have a field day. I think Jabari Smith Jr. is gonna have a great series. Amen, I think, is gonna be backdooring. He might be the all-star in the series. Like I think it's just a bad matchup. I don't like LeBron getting guarded by Amen Thompson for 4 straight games. I will say I think their best chance to have any chance of winning the series is you win game 1. I think if you win game 1, because like let's be honest, Lakers have nothing to lose. The Rockets have everything to lose. Like everyone's going in, oh, Rockets got this. So Lakers are naturally just gonna play for here. They're gonna be home. If they could like win that game 1, you lose game 2, and then you that's 8 days between games 1 and game 3. Like you have a chance. If Luka comes, but even if Luka comes back, like we've seen Aaron Gordon, Peyton Watson this year hamstring injuries. Like they come back, they're immediately out. Like it's
and then you immediately injure it. Yeah,
especially for a guy like Luka, who makes his money off the slow paced basketball and those quick stops. Like, he's not gonna be able to like pull up and do the things he does. Like that hammies off the bone.
No.
It sucks. Just sucks overall.
I know. It's terrible. It's terrible because I wanted to see playoff Luka as well. Let me ask you a question. So obviously you have your championship pick and I have mine. And I do think that both of those options are obviously still in play. But if you had to pick another team right now to go all the way, who would you pick?
To the finals and win it.
Yeah, a team to go to the finals and win it. If you had to pick a team right now that wasn't Denver.
I think it would be for sure OKC. I've just never seen a team. I mean, their odds are against them in a way because no team that's won the championship has gotten past the second round in 7-8 years. So like, there's that. But I just have never seen a team that's legitimately 11 deep in a playoff rotation, which could be to their detriment. You know what I mean? But like J-Dub's not what he was last year, but they don't really need him to be probably until they face Denver or San Antonio. But I would pick Denver. Or I would pick OKC. I'm sorry. What about you?
Yeah. It's easy for me. I think I've said this since the middle half of the season. Like, I think San Antonio is going all the way. I think they've just got all the pieces. If Wemby stays healthy, I just think he's going to kill everybody in his path. I obviously, for me, like, as a Texan, like, seeing San Antonio in the finals again would be fantastic. I think it's great. I think it's great for the league. So they are my pick. I just think it's not a terrible route either. You're not going to have a hard first round. You'll have Denver, which will be tough, and then OKC. Also, the reason I picked them over OKC is just their dominance over them in the regular season. It just feels like they understood how to get them better than anybody. And so I think if it gets to a conference finals, they have the ability to do it. But in a dream realistic world, San Antonio versus New York would be nice. And then I'd obviously root for New York to let all the haters know. So, but yeah, that's my pick if I had to pick one right now.
I feel like the biggest knock against San Antonio that people say, I don't believe this, is that like they don't have experience. But we've also never seen anybody like Wemby before, whose game should translate really well. His main thing is defense. We've seen great defensive players have great playoffs. Like, I think the closest thing I could think of is Anthony Davis. His first playoff series against the Warriors, he dominated. I think the San Antonio, like Anthony Davis, it's the other. Like, is De'Aaron Fox going to be that clutch player of the year he was a couple years ago? Is Stephon Castle ready to take big shots? Because, quite frankly, they're going to leave him open. They're going to leave Dylan Harper open a little bit. Can the others make the shots? Because I think Wemby's there. Wemby's ready. I'm not worried about Wemby. It's the others for me. But yeah, that's a great pick.
Yeah, I think Carter Bryant will be an X factor. Carter Bryant and Castle both, if they're able to perform I am such a big Carter Bryant fan. It's literally not even funny. So, if their young core can pull it together, they're going to be fine. But yeah, I think that's a valid concern. But I'm not as worried about it as most.
Yeah. Oh, you remember I had Carter Bryant fifth on my board last year. He fell all the way to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I thought he was one of the best defensive prospects in the draft. I mean, like, he's proven that he can do it at both ends. So, yeah, this is a wild bracket. I think it's going to be a fun playoffs. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens.
Two things before we go. What team do you think has the most to gain during this playoff season? And then what team you think has the most to lose?
The team that has the most to lose is the Knicks, in my opinion, regardless. The team that has the most to gain, I think, is Cleveland. And I already covered that. I think Cleveland has, if you're looking at their bracket, I think they can make noise just based off the fact that you're avoiding a Boston, you're avoiding a New York, you're avoiding that juggernaut. And yes, you're playing Detroit, but Detroit, this is their first year. You could easily knock them off in the second round if that backcourt of Mitchell and Harden plays well enough. So if Cleveland can make a run, they have a lot to gain. Like I said with New York, if you lose early, panic moves, chaos, it's New York trying to win now. And yeah, I think those would be my two picks. What about you?
I think for me, the team I think that kind of has the most to gain is Detroit in a weird way, because even though the number one seed, Cade was out, I still think they're being underrated. Like, I think if we were to rank the top four, they'd probably go 4. So I think if they could even get to a conference finals and prove to everybody, oh, this was legit in a way, I think they have a lot to gain. Because even myself, like, I don't think they have enough top four offense. But hey, like, who knows? Like, they could surprise a lot of people. A team that has a lot to lose, I actually picked Cleveland in a way, because I think if they
really? Okay.
Only because the same situation with the Knicks. Like I think if they do lose it early,
I think panic moves. That's valid.
Harden's a free agent. Like, do I really want to bring Harden back? Is Mitchell? Like, I think Mitchell didn't pick
That's
Cleveland.
true.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's true.
does Evan Mobley, Jared Allen work? Is LeBron coming back next year? Like, there's just so many other things that I could see them as well. But I think the safe teams are like the Celtics, the Raptors.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Boston exceeded everybody.
Who would you have the favorite coming out the East? Boston right now? Or you still got New York?
I'm not there with Boston yet. I'm just not.
Okay.
I'm just not there. I don't know. I like Cleveland a lot, honestly. Like if they can pull it together, I just like them a lot because again, inexperienced Toronto, inexperienced Detroit, and you're either getting New York or Boston, which I think both of those matchups are manageable. I like their chances. I obviously want to root for my championship pick. I do think they could knock off Boston if Boston's not ready. I don't know. I just like Cleveland. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a good pick. I don't think there's like a wrong answer either. Like I feel like for me, I would probably still pick. I would probably pick Boston only because I like the type of shots they take. But like as we saw last year, like you live and die with the three. But I've just been so impressed with what Jaylen Brown has done this year and the type of rim pressure he puts on the rim. Like he's been absolutely phenomenal. And I just like his shot selection better than like a team like Cleveland, where it's like, okay, we're down 15 or we're down 10. Donovan Mitchell just jacking up pull up three. You know what I mean? But it's all variance from there. So.
Yeah.
But I do like
to
your point, I do like the Knicks' psychological advantage over Boston because I know Tatum's back, but he did tear his Achilles in Madison Square. I know he played last week, but there is something like every time he steps on the court, especially if they match up again in games 3 or 4, they will be on the road. It's like, oh, remember this? Like there is something there.
Yeah, it's like same situation. Yeah,
exact same situation. So I'm excited.
Yep.
I'm excited. It is playoff basketball.
Indeed.
You got anything else?
I don't think so. Good questions. I think it's gonna be a fun bracket. We'll have to, keep checking back in to see what happens.
Yeah, I think we'll do another pod when we find out the 1-8 and 2-7 matchups.
Yeah, go over those.
But yeah, guys, let us know in the comments who you guys got winning the championship. Your favorite team? Are they in the playoffs? Let us know your favorite things going around the league right now. Appreciate you guys for listening, and peace and stay safe.